forth, really just to feel pulses and learn. Learning, as I always say, very, very important that we get into that. This is Lagos Talks on the Smooth Breakfast. You're welcome into the conversation. You can join us to be a part of today's discussion, as always, by sharing your thoughts with us on WhatsApp. 0809 is the WhatsApp number. You can send your messages in there. You can even give us a call on that number if you are, for example, out of the country, or maybe the studio line is difficult for you to get through. We understand it actually happens every now and then. The studio line is 0201 4489981. 0201 4489981. That is the studio line. We're also streaming live on YouTube at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Those are the ways that you can be a part of the conversations. Oh, I should also add, on YouTube, you can drop a comment there, and I will be taking it as the show goes along. Talking about the show today, we're going to be diving into another taboo topic. It's a taboo topic Tuesday, where we get to talk about different topics that are things that are real, they happen, but for whatever reason, cultural, religious, and so on and so forth reasons, we tend to stick our heads in the sand like ostriches and avoid bringing them to the fore. And hey, we're breaking tables. That's what we do. We love to bring those issues to the fore and talk about them. I mean, you need to talk about them to understand them, to figure out how best to deal with them, go about them, and find solutions to. There is nothing good that will come out of sticking your head in the sand and pretending like it's not there. When it's a 5-ton elephant in the corner, you can't avoid it. It's going to be there. But anyways, we'll be talking about something that is nearly not discussed enough in our society, and that's the father's role in child development and why men need to be a whole lot more involved in this one. Parenting has traditionally been seen as a woman's duty in many parts of the world, including here in Nigeria. However, research has actually shown that children benefit immensely when fathers are actively engaged in their upbringing. True story there, people. So to help us explore this and make sense of it all, I'm being joined by Othman Abdulrasheed. He's a business leadership coach and a behavioral analysis consultant as well. Othman, it's an absolute pleasure to have you in with us. Once again, I need to add, Othman was here on Lagos Talks not so long ago. We talked about another interesting topic, why children sometimes find it difficult to talk to their parents. It was a very, very insightful conversation. I had so much fun that day, and you also did. And I mean, I had to get him back on. I was someone sharing all that knowledge. What? But fun, great to have you on once again. Good morning.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ayokunmi. Great to be here again.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, the traditional role of fathers in Nigerian society. Now, you know that in Nigeria's cultural and societal norms, they've often placed men in the role of financial providers, with little emphasis on that emotional support or even direct involvement in raising children. Although lately that has changed, which is a good thing to see, but it is not as maybe not as mainstream as one would actually imagine. Fathers are seen as the symbol of discipline rather than nurturers within the household, and this has contributed to some sort of notion that parenting is primarily a mother's job. Now, I'm going to begin here by asking you, Uthman, I mean, why do you think these traditional roles have persisted for so long, especially here in Nigeria? Culture plays a big role, religion plays a big role as well in shaping these dynamics within the family.
So two things, right? And I think that go from answering this question, I just want to remove the table. Let's just remove it. We're not even breaking it, we're removing it. So the two things that I think that has made this thing persist is one, ego, and then laziness. Now, yes, ego and laziness. Now, and I'll tell you why I said so. You see, for you to be able to connect with your child, for you to be able to nurture them, you have to get on all fours. You have to do silly things. And you're thinking, me, a whole odogu, branch manager of a bank, I'll now come. Why will I be doing that kind of thing? So it's ego. It's an ego thing. You feel like you have arrived, right? Laziness, because It's easier for you to say, go and play with your mother, leave me alone, get out of my room, I'm watching football, than for you to say, okay, listen, what's up? How was your day? To connect. It's easier for you to come home late when the kids have slept, and then you sneak and just sleep, and then you stay in bed, right? As opposed to making a conscious effort to come back home when the kids are awake, and then you specify some time for you to be able to play with them, nurture them, connect with them. There's a quote I read that says that if you ask any guy, they'll tell you, is parenting easy or hard? They'll tell you it's easy. It's not just to pay school fees. You're making the money anyway, so you don't need to do anything. And that quote I read that says that, look, if parenting is easy for you, then you're not doing it right.
Right.
Parenting is a labor of love, right? And there's a labor. You have to work hard, right? So the reason why I think that a lot of people, why this fatherhood figure has persisted is that ego thing and then laziness. And then also because they've seen that's how their own father did it. But the thing is that when heat is applied on an object, you either harden like an egg or you melt like butter. Because you were parented wrongly by your father does not mean that you should parent your own children wrongly. You should look at it and say, okay, look, if these are the things my dad did, then these are the things I don't want to do to make sure that I'm able to, I'm connect. And coming back to, there's something you said that the traditional role of men are seen as this discipline. Discipline doesn't mean punishment. It's the biggest misunderstanding a lot of us have. We think discipline is punishment. So if I want to discipline a child, then I'll beat him, I'll flog him. No. Discipline means education, right? The word discipline comes from disciple. Disciple means someone that you're educating, someone you're teaching. So a lesson needs to be taught. So a child says something or does something, don't beat the child. Like disciplining means, okay, listen, this thing that you're doing has consequences. Now, you ask yourself, have you told them about those consequences before now? If the answer is no, then tell them about the consequences now and say, going forward, if this should happen again, we will uphold the consequences. And you must make sure that the consequences that you are upholding are in tandem with the offense. Don't go on because a child breaks plate, you break the child's head.
There needs to be a balance.
There has
the
to be
punishment needs to be commensurate with the offense committed.
And it has to be in line with the offense committed. So a child doesn't do homework, right? You now tell the child that, I'm going to beat you. It's not commensurate, right? Or a child is playing with their toys and you say, if you don't pack up these toys, you're not going to watch TV. Toy and TV are two different things. What you can do is that, look, if you don't pack up your toys and I see any toy scattered, then next time when you want to play with your toys, you're not going to get it. And the language also matters. You don't say if is a threat, when is a consequence. When you don't pack up like this, next time you want to play with it, you will not see these toys to play with. That's not a threat, that's a consequence. And the way children, process consequences is different from how they process threats. Because when you threaten them, they will call you out.
Interesting thoughts there. Okay, now just to really follow up here, I mentioned the roles within the family earlier on, and while mothers are often seen as the primary caregivers, balancing nurturing with discipline when that actually needs to happen. I mean, how can fathers actually redefine their roles in this evolving family structure? Because things are really different right now. How can they redefine those roles without feeling like, oh, maybe they're overstepping into maybe the mother's neck of the woods, more or less?
So, but who defined those roles? Who defined them? It's society. It's a construct that we just created. So I'll give you an example. And this example, one of the reasons why when I'm having this kind of conversation, I like to give my own personal examples so that you don't see that, look, I'm just saying aspire to perspire. Like there's no book, is what's available. What's a traditional mother female role in nurturing a child? Breastfeeding, right? It's traditionally the woman that breastfeeds. I mean, men don't produce milk. But who says Who says that you can't create that? How do you do it? Simple. Technology has helped us. Women will express. So they are pumping machines. They'll express how they will put it in a bottle. Then you now give the child. Because what tends to happen is this, and think about it. A woman is holding a child for hours on end, for weeks on end, for months on end. They are looking at each other's eyes as the mother is breastfeeding the child. There is going to be an emotional connection. When the child grows up and is 20 something, if he doesn't feel connected to you, it's because there was never connection from the beginning. So, first of all, there's no such, that construct is an invisible line. One of the things that I did, and I had twins. My kids are twins. So when they were born, I told my wife, look, I'm a light sleeper. So I said, look, at night, express, put it in the fridge. I'm in charge of breastfeeding at night. You sleep. So once they do, I'm up. I'll warm the milk, breastfeed them. I have a picture where it was 2 a.m. I had to take that picture because I was like, so that when they grow up and the remote is by my leg and I call them from the kitchen to come and give me the remote.
Yeah, what are those?
I'll show
Yeah, what are those?
You get what I'm saying, right? So, and I was doing it, and the reason why I was doing it was because I wanted to form that bond. I didn't want her to have all the time with them. Do you get? It might have been a bit selfish, but I just wanted to be present in their lives. You get? So breastfeeding, so those constructs, those roles, because we think that women are naturally born with these things, but they are not. A woman doesn't learn how to change diaper. She doesn't come with it pre-installed. The diaper change is a learning process. She learns how to do it. Who says you can't learn how to do it? There was a day, my son was with me and had visitors. They were like 2 weeks old. And I had visitors. And, the baby started crying. And then my friends were looking. Where is the mother? I say, the mother to come and do what? I checked. I knew he wasn't hungry because I had just given him bottle. I checked the nappy, saw that he had pooped. I just brought out the changing things, changed him here and there, cleaned him up, wrapped it up. And my friends, all of them were looking like, huh?
This is new.
Typically what they'll say is that in the north, they'll say Mijin Hajia. So Mijin Hajia is like Hajia's husband, meaning that the wife has commandeered you and turned you to a place kind of thing, right? But like I said, it's ego. If we can kill our ego, because it doesn't matter. When you're nurturing your children, when you're doing things for them, it's not a case of saying that, look, you are overstepping into what she's supposed to do. Yes, primarily she's going to nurture. Yes, but nobody says that you can't chip in as well, right? So I think what fathers need to do is to break down that barrier. Think about it and be creative and say, okay, look, there are certain things that, okay, I can't do. For example, I mean, at that tender age, I couldn't bath them, right? Because, I don't even know how to do it. So what did I do? I made sure that when she bathed them, I'll towel them and I'll rub cream. So I'm in the process. I'm inside. It's hard. After a long day of work, you come back, you've been busting your ass and everything, right? You come back home and all you want to do is just on Netflix and chill. And then it's bath time. But because you've made a commitment, right? You know that, look, this is something I have to do. And guess what? What even makes it even more amazing is that this time will pass.
Right.
It will pass. There will be a time where you can't even enter the bathroom when they're having their bath. So if you don't take advantage of that time, it's going to be too late, because when they grow up and they're teenagers and and you start seeing men, old men, that's what happens to old men. They've worked hard, they've trained people, they've done all that. But by the time they are old, the children don't have any affection for them. It's all about the mother. And the only reason is because they connect with the mother. You're out socializing, hanging out with friends and all that. They're at home with the mother. Bedtime is with the mother. Bedtime stories is with the mother. So you're not even in the thing.
In the picture, yeah.
You're not in the picture.
Interesting
so
thoughts.
There's no construct. There's nobody created that thing. Parenting is a joint venture. Yes, you obviously you can't carry the baby, you can't push the baby out, but you can be there. As soon as the baby comes out, you're there. There's an interesting thing. There's a book I read, Biology of Belief. I can't remember the author now. But when I read that book, it had, even now thinking about it, I'm having goosebumps. So Biology of Belief says that it talks about how our belief system can affect our biology. And it said that from the time a child is in the womb, they start to form certain beliefs. So if the father and the mother are always fighting, and the father's voice, the baby can hear the father's voice, and the mother's stress level goes up, she will release cortisol, stress hormones, and the baby
Cortisol,
will
yes.
feel distressed. Yeah, the baby will feel distressed in the womb. What now happens is that the baby will now associate the man's voice with cortisol levels. And that's why when the baby comes out, as soon as the man talks, the baby starts to cry.
Huh. You need to find the author of that book and let me know. That's something I definitely would love to read. We'll, we'll,
I'll look for,
we'll
let me
we'll
start
take a
reading.
quick break right now. When we come back in, we'll continue the conversation with Othman. I mean, I have goosebumps just listening to what you just said right now. And I definitely want to do my own, research and reading on that. Very interesting take. Smooth 98.1. This is Lagos Talks. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere. That is very wow. Hmm.
It blew my mind. So when I read that book, when my wife was pregnant, it's by Bruce Lipton,
Bruce
right?
Lipton.
Lipton. Read that book. That book will blow your mind. See, I made sure as much as possible we had as little fights as possible
Hmm.
because I didn't want. And so here's the thing, right? Now there's a flip side. Now my kids always want to be around me. It's a bit stressful.
Hasn't that caused
You
any beef?
understand?
Hasn't that caused beef? Like,
No, 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 no,
always around
no,
you. What's
no,
going on here? That kind of thing. You
no.
know?
I mean, she will take jabs. She will, jokingly say, your children they like you more than anybody. You know that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There was a day, two of them were in the room and they were making noise, and my wife was like, "Oh yeah, guys, that's enough. Time up. You guys should go to your room." They said, "Okay, daddy, let's go." I told her, I was like, "How do you guys realize that I'm an adult?"
Yeah,
They're
Daddy,
like,
let's.
"Okay, daddy, let's go."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That was like a reflex action.
Yes, reflex. Yeah, you're one of us. You're our guy. Let's
Uh,
go.
Lord have mercy. Welcome back to Lagos Talks on a Tuesday morning on Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life, love conversations as well. Ayokunmi here. And we have been talking about the father's role in child development, why men need to be more present. It's all about our taboo topics Tuesday. Oh, yes. It might be another day, but as long as it's Tuesday, that is what I'm going to call it. It works. It works. Anyways, welcome back into the conversation. You can join us on WhatsApp by sharing your thoughts or experiences as well. Hey, we'd love to hear your experiences. I mean, for those who are parenting right now, the fathers out there, I mean, looking at how you were parenting, looking at how, your fathers were in the picture. Are you more active in the development of your own kids? Are you more involved? Are you going beyond, oh, I pay school fees, I provide food, I put food on the table and clothes on your back, and that's all I need to do? Have you gone beyond that? Have you transcended those particular levels? Let's talk about it. WhatsApp is the platform you can send your thoughts into us on 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 0981. That's the WhatsApp platform. You can also give us a call right there if you're out of the country or it's more convenient for you to do so. The studio line remains 0201 4489981. 0201 4489981. And if you'd love to what's going on YouTube, you can do that at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. You can leave a comment and I'll take that as we get along. All right, Uthman Abdulrasheed is my guest. Welcome back into the show, Uthman. Interesting
Thank you
conversation
very
up
much.
until this point, and let's pick things up here and talk about the impact of a father's involvement on the child's development, in the psychological impact, the emotional impact. Studies have shown that children who have fathers who are very much involved tend to be more confident. They have better emotional regulation. They even perform better academically. And of course, they can provide a unique, type of support, balancing discipline with emotional availability, offering a different model from what the mother would offer in terms of strength, empathy, and so on and so forth. I mean, mothers, fathers, they're different. So it has to be the complete package, as it were. So from your experience in behavioral analysis, how do fathers presence or how does the father's presence actually influence a child's development differently from a mother in terms of their emotional stability and psychological development as well? How is it different?
So, yeah, so it's different because you see, women are naturally nurturers. They nurture, they protect, they, they, I don't say limit, but just stay here. Mother hen, come under my wing, I protect you.
Keep them
Fathers are
safe.
more, push. Let's see what else can be done. What else do you want to do? Can you do a lot of times? Most of the craziest things that I've done with my children is when my wife is not around. When my wife is not around, they'll be like, Daddy, I want to jump from that cupboard. I jump, I'll catch you. They will jump and I'll catch them. What does that do? That teaches them, okay, I can do this. If I can do this, then I'm confident, right? I'm confident. And then slowly, slowly, also confidence is what breeds that emotional intelligence and emotional resilience. So fathers are naturally predisposed to pushing their children outside their comfort zone. But see, the problem is that you can't push somebody outside their comfort zone if you haven't connected with them yet, if you haven't
Mm,
built trust. If you remember in that previous conversation that we had, that's what we're talking about, that for you to
right.
discipline a child, for you to be able to connect with a child, you have to first build trust. And the trust building process starts from the nurturing. So you have to be involved in the nurturing so that when I tell you, listen, trust me, jump off that slide or whatever, they will trust you enough to say, okay, yeah, we can do that. And then men are naturally predisposed to boys do rough play. Think about it. When you meet your friends, don't you guys do they mad, I
Mm,
go,
mm,
you get that
mm.
kind of thing, right? It comes naturally to us. And that's what children want. Their mother, they can't go and be doing martial arts or the mother. It doesn't even make sense. Do you get? So
Yeah.
that thing built something happened recently, and my son came and met me and daddy, let's play fighter. I said, what is fighter? He was like, he show me. I said, okay, show me. And he was in gish, gish, like he was kicking, punching, and all those things. I'm like, okay. Let me take it a step further. And I put, because I mean I do videography. So I put my phone, there, and I said, come, let's do the fighter. We did the fighter, I edited it, added some anime, Naruto things inside.
Mm, mm.
Then we sat down and we watched it. The guy was laughing. I don't think I've seen him laugh like that. He was laughing. And I was like, And then now every day, can we do fighter? Are we going to do fighter today? I'm like, yeah. Now, what have I done? Automatically, I've even made screen time better. Why? If instead of him watching screen for an hour, we'll use 30 minutes to act. We'll edit it for 10 minutes. Use 20 minutes to watch it. 1 hour has gone. That's building creativity. That's helping them to think that, okay, look, listen, I don't have to just sit down and be a consumer. I can be a producer of content. And that's just one angle. But men naturally are predisposed to those kind of play. But the problem is pride. You come back. There was the day I came back from work, I was wearing suit. And they were outside riding bicycle. And as soon as I came back, they were like, Daddy, get your bicycle, let's ride. I said, okay, whatever. I just dropped my bag, removed my shoes, got my bicycle, and we're riding around the house. We're just going around, race and all that. Women might not necessarily be predisposed to that. They're more on the nurturing angle. So those adventures, those kind of things are what men do. And I feel like that's a lot of men when they go out, because we like adventure. But when we go for
Mm,
our adventures, we escape the family. That's why we go to for adventure. The other day I was playing golf with somebody and he was like, "Oh, me, I like this is my me time. At least I know day house, nothing concern me." But in my mind, whenever whatever sport I'm doing or anything, I'm always thinking, okay, how child friendly is this environment? Can I bring my children? There are days when I'll tell my children, listen, guys, we're going to play golf together, and then we go, and then it exposes them to those kind of things. So I think that that's what men, because we're predisposed to that kind of thing. That's where we need to step in. Take the children out. Let them explore, go on hikes, go on walks, and all those kind of things.
mm. Interesting thoughts there. Okay, really, really quickly. I mean, we know that mothers, because I need to go on a very quick break right now, but and I just need to just throw this in before we do that. Mothers naturally build that foundation of empathy and security through daily interaction, but fathers can
Yeah.
actually reinforce this by adding a different layer of emotional growth through their support and guidance. Do you agree fully with that?
Yes, I do. 100%. You see, one of the best ways that men can build that emotional intelligence is by also being vulnerable. Showing up. Don't sometimes when you come back from work and tell the children, hey guys, I had a tough day today. Today was hard. My boss did this, my boss did that. You might think they don't understand, but what they are beginning to learn is that, oh, so bad days happen. And see, daddy had a bad day, but he still came home and he was happy with us. Right? So that teaches them, because that's what children do. They will do what you do, not what you say. So if you tell them,
Mm,
look, regulate your emotions, they're not going to regulate your emotions if they don't see you regulate your emotions. You tell them, look, this thing you did upset me, but doesn't mean that I don't love you. But please don't do it again. They will learn how to regulate their own emotions as well.
mm. All right, thank you for clearing that one up. Let's take another break. When we come back in, we'll continue the conversation on Lagos Talks this beautiful Tuesday morning on Smooth 98.1. Keep it tuned. Do as I do, not do as I say.
Yeah, that's what they do. They never do what you say, but they always do what they see you do. And and it's sad because men tend to just do anyhow, you know, stay out late, hang out, do all sorts of things, that kind of things. And then they come back home and they're not even connected. Like how so I traveled, I left Cairo, yes, day before yesterday, right? My wife
Okay.
called me and says, my son was just crying. I want mango, I want grapes, I want oranges. It's like he was just everywhere. And she was like, wait, come, tell me, what do you want? He said, I don't even know what I want. He said, I know what you want. You want to talk to your daddy? He said, yes. We now had video calls. I said, Daddy, are you coming back tomorrow? I said, I told you now, I'm going to be away for a while. I was like, no, please come back. And every time I'm not at home, that's how he behaves. He behaves just edgy. Because I'm the only person that is going to do all the BG play with him. So now he has pent up energy, nowhere to expend it.
They're just flying all over the place.
It's just flying all over the place.
Kids. And what you said about them actually understanding, like you might think they don't understand, but you know what's going on.
They
That thing,
know.
that thing
They
is,
know.
it is
I,
scary.
I, I told when I was traveling, I told my daughter something. I was like, oh, when I travel, will you miss me? She was like, yes. I was like, okay. She was like, maybe I know I have an idea. I say, what? She like, maybe you give me something so that anytime I look at it, I'll remember you. I was mind blown. I was like, 5 year old. I said, okay, don't worry, I know what I'll do. I created something from like an ID card holder. I just put my picture and I give her. I was like, be hanging this on your neck and be remembering me with it.
Creativity at its peak.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump back in. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Smooth 98.1, the Smooth Breakfast, and Lagos Talks is the show at the moment. My name is Ayokunmi. Welcome along to the conversation, the home of great conversation, as it were, every day of the week, Mondays through Fridays. 9 o'clock is when we get into it. And today isn't any different. We're talking about the father's role in child development. Why men actually need to be more present. It's all about our taboo topics on a Tuesday. And this definitely is one of them. My guest this morning has been, and he's still here with us, Othman Abdulrasheed. He's a business leadership coach as well as a behavioral analysis consultant, and he's analyzing this particular situation and topic for us as well. Othman, thank you so much for being in
Thank
with
you
us
very
today.
much for having me.
Okay, the phone line is actually blinking, or lines are blinking. Let's take a call here. Hello. And goodbye. Please do well to call back. 0201 4489981 is the studio line. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 981. 0809 444 0981. Let's try this again. Fingers crossed. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Very good morning to you. Welcome to Lagos Talking Smooth 98.1.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Welcome, Soji.
Yes, just the first statement our guest made concerning the aspect of men, that egoism and sort of pride or something.
Right.
I personally may disagree with that because in obvious aspects, there are some Adebali or something like that. Okay? The tradition, particularly in the Yoruba domain, everything centers likely on the Bible, the tenet. I'm not trying to bring in religion here, but then it is tradition has already made it such a manner that the women are much more closer to their children than men. But now, I am taking a cue from my own end. My parents, my father then, and my mom, they were sort of disciplinarian to an extent that if our father calls me in to his room, I know I have done something wrong. That regard, respect, not really fear is there. But our mom tends to rally around us, but then not to pamper us, but then we are closer to her in the sense that when we are wrong, she knows how to handle us and things go right. And in the same way, myself now with my kids, though I'm the father of them, all right? So the aspect, I do not know up to today. I'm over 70 now. I do not know how to make it happen. I cannot pass my kids. But then, the logical aspect, the things that concern me, I ceremoniously or traditionally do it. To an extent, the time I was very fortunate in the sense that I started living alone on my own, not my parents. So I knew how to cook. So I learned it with our food experience.
Okay.
So when I got wedded, my wife sort of arbitrarily banned from the kitchen. But now I find time going in there. But then my wife, my children are running around her. Not really that, but then I do my own bit when it needs to be done in the sense that culture, nurture and culture my children. But thank God, we should not deviate from the Bible. Let's not indulge ourselves in this Western world because then they are trying to push down their own truth to our soul. We should not so much like all these our analysts or our guests. We should not invite Western culture. That's all I will say. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for sharing your thoughts there, Soji. I mean, we talked about culture and all that earlier, and Soji has, spoken on that, talking about how culture more or less should be maintained and so on and so forth. Othman, do you want to weigh in on Soji's submission?
So I totally agree. And we shouldn't allow our culture to be, whitewashed or determined by, external factors. But for example, things like, and I love what he said. So he said, because he started staying at home, started staying on his own, he knows how to cook. So he gets into the kitchen. You see that this is a man that is not egoistic. An egoistic man will say, God forbid for me to enter kitchen. Right? So the diaper example that I used was just an example. It could be in any other thing. For me, like, for example, I don't know how to cook, right? I probably boil rice and that's all. I don't even like kitchen, but I can do other things. So what I'm saying is that as men, we should find the thing that we're comfortable with and use it to nurture and connect with our family. I'll give you an example. My father-in-law, till this date, anytime we travel back to Kaduna, my father-in-law sometimes he will be the one that will make breakfast for us. You see all of us, his two daughters with their husbands, the grandkids, we're all in the kitchen, and he's making breakfast and we're gisting, and I can see that connection. And so what even motivates me more to be able to connect is that I see how connected with them he is. And it doesn't mean that he's not a disciplinarian. You can't even mess up. So what I'm saying is that let's find a way to connect. But once we connect, we should also make sure that we hold those boundaries. The child is not doing what is right, discipline them. Disciplining doesn't mean hitting all the time. You understand? Discipline means you can manage consequences. Because the truth is that if you hit a child, what are you teaching that child? You're teaching that child that anytime somebody doesn't agree with their own way of view, the best way is to use the fist. And the only reason why you're beating the child is because you're older than the child and you're bigger than the child. Why is it that when a child reaches 40 and the father is 70, the father doesn't beat the son? If you want to, sometimes 40-year-olds mess up and the father wants to correct him. What does he do at that age? He'll talk to the son, Abi? Not beating the son. Try it now, beat him, he will beat you. You get what I'm saying? So the only reason why we resort to beating is because, one, it's the fastest way, but it's not all the time the most efficient. Right? You can have conversations with these children. They are more mature than we give them credit for. So yeah. I'm just saying that, let's connect and then we can now
yeah, definitely. I mean, still talking about something that's what you actually said, talking about the culture, I mean, how things have been laid down and so on and so forth. Let's I mean, at the beginning, we also talked about when kids grow up. I'm not saying it happens in all cases, but more often than not, we see where kids are estranged from their fathers. I mean, they are there, but they're not there emotionally. Money to do, okay. Yes. I mean, financially, I mean, they'll do what they need to do, but there's not really that connection with the father. Oh, the father needs something he needs money for something. No problem, I'll sort it out. But let's sit down, let's talk, let's relate. That is not on the table because that has never been a thing. Now my question now is that yes, culture can and should be maintained, but when aspects of those culture down the line have a negative effect, ergo fathers and kids not being emotionally connected or having a connection in later years, isn't that part of that culture that should be looked at and we should say, okay, because this has been happening over time, I don't want my kids in later years to look at me, to look at me and only feel, just because I'm still here, because they're obligated to do what it is they do. That's what they did. I want them to see me as, even in my older age, they can sit down with me, we can laugh, we can bond,
we can talk. Yes.
Yeah, the same way they do with their mothers. I mean, shouldn't that be part of the culture where we say, okay, it doesn't work, we need to change it?
Yeah, but so yes, I agree. Though that's because culture is always evolving, right? But the funny thing is that if we go back to the roots, the roots, you will see that we have deviated from our culture. In those days, what do men do? The man is going hunting, for example. He will go with his son. They will hunt together. In that hunting, they will discuss. But now you are going to work. You don't even see it as an important thing to do school drop-off. You have hired a driver and a nanny to take your children to school and bring them back. So you don't even have time that you're spending with them. School pickup, you're not there. School drop-off, you're not there. Right? But in those days, fathers used to spend time with their family. They go to the farm, they go to the farm together. They come back from the farm together. They eat communally. Most of us, how many times do we eat on the dining table together with our family? You come back home at 10. Yeah, you come back home at 10 p.m. Children have slept. Wife has been waiting. Maybe when you first got married, you wait, you won't eat till you come back. But you now say, I beg, I'm tired. I'll eat my food. When you come back, there's food on the cooler. You might not even eat the food because probably from work, you went to hang out somewhere and you had already eaten before coming back home. So what I'm even saying is that right now, most of us, and I'm not saying it's everybody that does it, right?
Right.
And I understand sometimes you go out to connect, to make connections. Yes, once in a while, but it shouldn't be like an everyday thing. So I feel like we have deviated from our true African culture because African culture has this thing, whether Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, if you look at it, there are threads that join us. We used to have community activities. You know, we read things like Bottle Leopard, Things Fall Apart. They go to the wrestling ring, his father, children, everybody watching, New Yam Festival, all those things. Those are things for community building. But now everybody's on their phone. Everybody's watching Netflix. Your son is talking to you, you're like, leave me. And obviously, what's going to happen? They'll think that the phone is more important. But in those days, you used to have conversations. There was coming of age ceremony. When people are coming of age, they will have to train with their father. Their father will talk to them, give them advice. The fathers always used to do tales by moonlight. Come and talk about stories. That's how you connect. So now we've allowed Netflix to be the storyteller. Your children watch Netflix before they sleep. So now they're learning weird, things. So if we get down to the root of it, we'll see that most communities are built on the backs of the fathers and the mothers, right? Without fathers, they're electing their duties. They are there, they are present, they provide that nurturing, they provide that, support.
Okay, that is all well and good, Othman, but as you already alluded to, and hey, this is something that we all know, that pressure that is put on the men, okay, to provide, to be the pillars of support, to do this, to do that, to always be there, and so on and so forth. They feel automatically. Yes, I understand where you're coming from in terms of how it used to be back then. There was a lot of a lot more communal things going on, fathers and sons and so on and so forth. But now, you know how it is now. You need to be out there, this hustle, that hustle, school fees. You're thinking about school fees, sending your kids to the best school. You need to think about house rents, this and that. So you are here, there, and all that. I mean, how does one even begin to balance having to fulfill all those obligations on one hand, but still being able to find that opportunity, that time to connect with these kids so that that emotional bond, as you've mentioned, can be formed early on?
So I'll use an example that I heard my wife talking about. She was having a class on parenting, so she was teaching, women, and she was talking about juggling. We all juggle balls. We have balls that we're juggling, rent, school fees, work, all that, right? But some balls are plastic balls, some balls are glass balls. If a ball drops that is a glass ball, it shatters, it can never be repaired. But plastic balls will drop and they'll bounce back. So, for example, work is a plastic ball. Because you close early from work today, it's not going, you're not going to lose your job. Because you decide not to hang out with your friends after, there was a day I went to play golf with guys. And they were like, okay, so we'll go bar now after this. I was like, no, I have to rush home. And they're like, okay, bye-bye. But the next time we wanted to play golf, we hung out. It was a plastic ball. Because I told them I can't hang out with them, that doesn't mean that, they're not going to want to hang out with me again. So we must need to be able to identify what are the balls. But let's say, for example, your child is doing soccer practice or something, right? And that's their first match ever. And then they look at the stand and you're not there. They'll feel it. They know that, okay, their first ever soccer practice, you ain't there. That's a glass ball. If you break that ball, it's never going to be.
Especially when other parents of other kids most likely probably would be there.
Yes, now. I'll give you an example. There was a time, so even before I gave birth, I run always, right? I'm always running, trying to keep fit. And there are two reasons why I keep fit. One is to make sure that I'm healthy enough to be able to play with my children, right? But two is to make sure that any school my children in, they're doing parents there, we dominate other parents. Finish all of them. That's the second reason. And there was a time that, my children's school, they were doing sack race. The way I volunteered, when I climbed that sack, I took off. My kids were about 2 years old. My wife said that there was a way my son was blushing. I was like, God, that's my daddy. I won the race. You understand? I was there, like there's nothing that they do in their school or whatever that I don't make sure that I'm there. So now transitioning, my wife owns a preschool, right? And they were doing something about Parents' Day. no, career day. And they were like, oh, I saw on the group, they were saying parents should come and talk. Immediately I volunteered. I was like, yeah, I had a crazy schedule that day, but I was like, I can spend 30 minutes. I came to the school, spent 30 minutes. I told them I'm a business coach, told them what business coach, these are 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, use their own language to explain what business coaching was, what a business is and all that. And I could see in my children's eyes, everybody was like, that's my daddy, that's my daddy. You understand? If you have to be present, it won't take 30. People think that is the amount of time. It's not the amount of time, it's the quality of time. You can spare 30 minutes wherever you're hanging out. Come back home for 30 minutes, read them a bedtime story, go out again. I do it too. There are times when I have meetings at night, I'll come back home, do what I need to do, and then go. It's not the quality of time. It's not the quantity of time. It's the quality and then the consistency.
Right. Okay, interesting, Uthman. I mean, I hear you on that one, and I also need to ask. I mean, it is absolutely fantastic to look at things from that perspective. But as you mentioned before, there's some ego here and all, and so on and so forth. So, in your experience, I mean, how do you encourage men to embrace that role as you've described without feeling like it diminishes their masculinity, as it were, or that odoguness that they might feel that they have? How can they work through that?
So thing is, it still comes back to that plastic and rubber ball. If people see you as Odogu in 50 years time, will it matter? But if you look at it, a lot of times we have situations whereby you remember there's something called core memories for children. There's a memory that is core. And you hear people, even after years of age, they will say, oh, my dad said this. My mom said this. I remember when my dad did this. If you put those things in perspective and you say, look, what has people's view of me, right? How important is it versus for my children 20 years from now to become better human beings because I was more present in their lives? For them to be able to learn that, look, you can actually have it all. You can have a successful business, successful work, career, and also successful family life. It's just for us to weigh. The problem a lot of us have is that we don't sit down to think about those things. We don't think and say, okay, look, my actions, do they have negative repercussions? Because there was a mental health class I attended, sometime back, and it says that coping mechanism, right? There's dysfunctional coping mechanism. Even if the coping mechanism is not bad. I'll give you a personal example. During COVID, everything was crazy. I couldn't control, and I like to have some form of control. So what I used to do was that when everybody has gone to bed, I will stay up at night from 11 to 1 a.m., right? And I might not be doing anything. I might be watching a movie or something. But that 2 hours was that I could determine what I was doing with my life. Every other time, somebody else was determining what I could do. But the problem was that my wife always says, look, what are you doing up late? Come, you should be in bed. You should, And I realized that even though it wasn't harming anybody, but that was a dysfunctional coping mechanism because she wasn't happy with it. You understand? So a lot of times for us to be able to really thrive and survive is whatever coping mechanism that we decide to take should be something that doesn't cause harm to someone else. So you can be hanging out. It's fine to hang out. That's your own coping mechanism. But what message are you passing to your own children? Right? You can decide to do whatever you want to do, but you need to show them that they are important. Let me just add this small story. I learned this from my mentor, John Maxwell. John Maxwell is arguably the world's leading expert in leadership. And he was talking about how important, family is and his children are to him. He was going to speak at an event. It was a 20,000 capacity event. And that was the first time he was ever going to speak at that event. And then he got a call. And for them to be able to go and speak at that event, they needed to do like a conclave. Like all the speakers needed to go like for a camp for like a week. And if you don't go for that camp, you can't speak at that event. So he went, he was in the camp, and then he got a call from his son. The son had, emotional issues or something. He said, okay, son, I'll come and spend time with you. He left that camp, spent time with his son, played golf with the son, they bonded. And then the organizers of the event said, wow, even though this is not part of our rules, but because you have embodied what true leadership is by going to be with your family, we're willing to make an exception. You can speak even not being in the camp. And he declined it. He said, no. They said, why? He said, because if I still get what I want, then that means my son will not understand the sacrifice that I did. He won't understand how important he is. So I want my son to know that no matter how the gig that I have, it's not worth having me not being able to spend time with him. So I'm willing to sacrifice that. And I was like, you say what? Me, I can't do it. I will collect that gig. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll just say, like,
I get what you mean. I get what you mean. Oh my goodness. Hey, I wouldn't blame you. I mean, looking at how Nigeria's economy is set up right now.
Yeah, you give it to me, I will collect it. I'll say, bro, I sacrifice for you, but this thing, when this money comes, we even ball better. So let me collect it. But it's just to give you a perspective of what type of thinking is. We need them to know that they're the most important part of our lives. And we need to back it up with action.
Back it up with action. Love it. All right, let's take our final break. When we come back in, we'll begin to wrap up on the conversation this morning on Lagos Talks right here on the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. As it hot.
1 hour on radio is not real 1 hour. It's always shorter.
Yeah,
radio and TV, I realize it. It goes by so fast.
It also feels that way because you're having a great interaction. If it's just the interaction, the time is long, go.
I see you.
It's long, go. Or like you're doing a show and maybe you're not really well prepared for it.
What is your plan this one? I want to play Thriller Michael Jackson.
What Thriller? Oh, it was there. I'll just like to remove it. Why can't I play it? Why can't I play it?
I want to be scaring people early in the morning.
I don't understand. Halloween is coming.
Eh?
Halloween is exactly.
Halloween
Halloween is coming.
Halloween.
They play. They play. I didn't even see that I was there. Yes. He can't hear you because of the mic. If you're like on this side, you won't hear like on people on Zoom cannot hear until you come closer.
Okay.
I don't know. This thing stresses us a lot.
Good morning, I guess.
Morning, sir.
Very well, sir.
Not my Oga, my boss. My boss, right?
Oh, sir.
Oh, you go.
Yeah, the two months ago.
We go in avec. I don't have your matter. So like I said, if you're on a show where it's just like the flow, the time goes by very slowly. But when you're having fun, it's great, it's back and forth. You guys are, time does the move
fast. Yeah.
I've been there a number of times. I'm like, but this time I don't move at all. You don't move. Or maybe like it's a show where the discussion is not something I'm really versed in like that. Maybe like business or something, stock market. I'm like, this time when they move, it's not moving, though. It happens like that. All right, let's wrap up this conversation. All right, the final moments of Lagos Talks this morning on Smooth 98.1. The Smooth Breakfast, Ayokunmi, right here with you. And Othman Abdulrasheed is my guest, still with me, getting ready to round up the conversation. We're talking about the father's role in child development and why men need to be more present. Very, very insightful, very important discussion that we've been having, looking at, things that we don't really love to talk about or bring to the fore. We decided to do that today. That is something that needs to be done. And I really don't know how, you'd love to see it or the perspective you love to look at things from. Both parents need to be actively involved in the lives of their children. We need to, deviate from a time and place where grown kids have more affection, have more of a connection to the mothers at the end of the day, while the fathers are, should I say, left in another realm entirely. It can be done. It is doable, but it needs to happen at the grassroots level, right from the foundational levels. The connection needs to be made. If the connection is not made, it gets more difficult. I mean, you can't do anything with cement that has solidified. Once it's solid,
Solidified, yeah.
solid, game over. All right, Uthman, let's just wrap this up at the end of the day. And I just need to ask, I mean, from your perspective, from your experience as well, I mean, what can institutions do, like in workplace and schools as well, to encourage more father involvement? Are there policies that can be put in place? What can be done so that the
Yeah.
fathers can have an opportunity to be actively involved in the lives of their kids?
Yeah, and honestly, institutions already do that. For example, one of the things that has been instituted recently is the paternity leave, where if your wife gives birth, you are entitled to 1 week paternity leave. I remember that was very, very important for me because when I applied, they gave me that leave, that 1 week, just being at home, knowing that I didn't have to go anywhere, I could stay up late, I could, do a lot. That helps as well. I think that things like, bring your kids to work day or, bonding time,
Mm,
those are kind of things that also like help fathers as well. But I think more importantly is for us to support one another. So a guy closing early to go home to be with his family shouldn't be the object of ridicule. Don't laugh at him and say, hey, your wife is controlling you, that kind of thing, right? So it's for us to understand that collectively I want you to parent better because my children and your children will meet. No matter how much parenting I do, if you don't parent well, my children will interact with your children and then they will pick up vices from your own children. So if all of us are one close community, supporting each other, helping each other, I think that they'll be a long way. And lastly, we should have communities. One of the reasons why women, excel in these kind of things is that they believe in community. We should have male communities where is family oriented. Recently I went out with a brother. He's based in America, but we met and we had like 5 women. Right? His wife was among, my wife was among. We had 5 women with about 10 kids. I and him, told the women, okay, yeah, guys, go have your, mother's lunch or whatever. And I and him stayed and took care of the 10 children. And it was like 3 hours. Like we took them, it was an amusement park. We took them on rides and everything. And I felt
mm,
really good because I was like, this is a guy that understands, like we're together in this thing, you know. But the more we have those kind of people, and then we're building communities and making those kind of things mainstream so that people don't see it as anything wrong. There's nothing wrong. When I was doing international passport for my children, I remember it was in Kano. And when I took my children, they kept asking, where's the mother? I was like, where's the mother is not here. What? No, they started calling people, hey, come and see, come and see. And they were just like two then, I mean one plus. Come and see. And it was women that were calling, come and see. He came here to do passport without the mother. What's wrong with that? I take my children to the hospital without the mom. And there's nothing wrong. So I feel like
mm,
we should make more noise about those kind of things. The
right.
people that are doing it. Because I've had a lot of people come and tell me that, man, the way you parent your children has inspired me that when I have my own children, I want to be like that. I want to be present, reading them books, playing with them, doing those kind of things. So I think that that's what is important. The few people that are
Absolutely.
doing it should make it mainstream so that others will pick up.
Absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Uthman, for coming through and sharing your thoughts and knowledge with us as well. Hey, for anyone out there right now listening to us and would love to talk to you more about stuff like this, where can they find you on your Instagram, your X, your LinkedIn?
Yeah. So all of them is at I am the Othman. IAMTHEOTHMAN at I am the Othman on LinkedIn, X, Instagram. You can find me there. We can
All
connect.
right. Absolutely fantastic. Do have yourself a great Tuesday and a great rest of the week ahead. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, bro.
All right, then, Lagos, it's been a trip. Thank you so much for being a part of Lagos Talks, as you always are. Keep it tuned to Smooth 98.1. It's going to be more great music coming your way. And of course, a good conversation coming up at 10:15 if you want to know about, all the good stuff lined up for you, you need to be here at that time. Don't go anywhere, Lagos. Keep it tuned.